Hey y'all, welcome to the Honesty Circle, the safe space to discuss growing in adulthood, mental health, faith, and all the things in between. It's your host, Sierra Elise, and I hope you're taking care of not only your mental and spiritual, but your emotional and physical health so you can be your best self this week. Today in the Honesty Circle, we will be discussing conquering imposter syndrome. What is imposter syndrome? When I looked up the definition of the imposter syndrome, it is self-doubt of intellect, skills, and accomplishment among high-achieving individuals. And it shows up differently for everybody. Some people internalize what they hear. Sometimes it's what you're telling yourself. But it all stems from somewhere. And so I kind of want to do a deep dive about my experience with imposter syndrome. It's something that has been a newer revelation of mine. But as I've started to do some unpacking, I've realized it's been there this entire time. I just have been covering it up. So when I look back, like I said, I didn't really realize I had it until more recently, and it's manifested more in this current job that I'm in. I've always considered myself a pretty confident person. My mom has helped me establish a strong sense of self since I was super young. So coming to the realization of that I have imposter syndrome has been like a kind of a little shocking for me. Like I said, I feel like I have confidence. So it's like, where's this coming from? If I'm supposed to be like a confident person, or I perceive myself to be a confident person. And so as I've started to do some unpacking, like I said, I realized that it's something that has been there this entire time since I was younger. So I really think it started back when I was in third grade. I'm not sure if other people know, but there's a thing called EOGs, and you start taking them when you're in third grade in North Carolina. That year I had failed the reading EOG 2 times, and that's even with going through remediation. So it's on a scale from like 1 to like, I think it's like 5 or something like that, or 4. I don't quite remember, but I got a 2 the first time, I think, and then I did remediation, and I was like getting pulled from class to go work on my reading comprehension skills, and then again I get a 2 again. So that definitely kind of killed my confidence a bit, especially because I have really smart sisters, and when I would compare myself to them, even my younger sister, she was younger than me, but I just always felt she was smarter than me. Both my older sisters, I felt that they were smarter than me, so I just felt like I was the quote dumb sister. And it's so weird because it wasn't like I was bad at school. It's not like I wasn't making good grades all throughout high school, so I'm not sure why I consider myself the dumb sister, but it's just something I always told myself. Like, I just knew like, hey, academics weren't my thing. I'm good at other areas, but academics was not one of them. So I just didn't really feed into it anymore. I'm just like, I'm the dumb sister, cool, whatever. And I don't think anyone thought of me as a dumb sister, truly. Like, I'm not sure why I labeled myself as that. Like, there's not a dumb sister, Davis sister. We're all smart. But at the time, I was definitely considering myself the dumb sister. And I think because of that experience in third grade, I've kind of always had that voice in the back of my head and considering myself the dumb sister, that I wasn't smart. And so that's just something that has kind of been in the back of my head for a while, and I don't think it really came up again until I was in college. And boy, oh boy. So before in high school, it's like I didn't consider myself smart, but I was making good grades. College is in the back of my head, I low-key don't consider myself that smart, but I'm also still not making good grades. So now it's actually manifesting in concrete ways, and so I think that is what kind of amplified it a bit for me, because I wasn't making good grades. I wasn't failing, but just in comparison, I think that's the main problem here, comparing myself, but whatever. And then I also had just really high achieving friends. Like, oh my gosh, my friends are super duper uber smart, and when they would talk about their GPA and like I'm not close, and I'm like, oof, okay, well, that's cool. Love that. I guess that's kind of where it just continued. I haven't really thought about this again until like the current job I'm in. So from college, because even by the time I graduated college, I was confident. Like, I worked hard for the grade that I got, for the GPA that I got. And so I felt I became a tad confident. And so by the time I graduated school, I'm like, right now I'm not going back to school. So I got a degree, and like, y'all can't tell me nothing. Even though that back of like the voice in the back of my head was still just not the most confident in my like ability and like my smartness or my intellect. And so this current job is what has, boy oh boy, opened it up in a new level. That's when I started to notice it's not other people perceiving me this way. It's truly myself perceiving myself this way. Because in my current job, I basically became in charge of this whole program within my first year, and I had my VP and my director reaching out to me to make decisions. And I'm like, what the literal heck? Like, why y'all asking me? I don't got no qualifications. I ain't got no master's. My bachelor's degree is not even in this field. So I'm like, okay, I'm confused. Why y'all asking me? Like, what makes me qualified for this? I've in my first year running a program that no one in this office is also running, and y'all are also asking me to make decisions. Like, why are you asking me to make decisions? And so it's just like this whole thing of like, I felt so like I say felt because I feel like it is becoming a more past tense, but I felt so inferior because I was just new and I was a Black woman in a predominantly white space and a predominantly more white male space. Like my office is not, but like where I work as a whole is. And so I don't know. It just feels like I'm like, wow, like I just don't have the qualifications. Basically, I don't belong here is like something else sometimes in my head that I had that's working to overcome. And the reason I can kind of talk about this in the past tense, although I still work at this job, is because I went to a conference in July, and boy, oh boy, did this shake my entire world. So y'all, the first small group little breakout session of the conference is about, guess what? Imposter syndrome. And when I tell y'all that ate me slam up, like I left that, if I would have left off that session alone, I would have left a new woman. And I went to so many sessions outside of that. That session was so life-changing because I feel like, one, it brought up what I had been feeling in the back of my head. And I knew what imposter syndrome was, so it wasn't like a new thing to me. I just didn't think I had it. I just didn't think that, I don't know why I didn't think I had it. But like I said, I mean, I just consider myself a very confident person, so maybe I don't know. I just didn't want to see myself as inferior or less than or anything. So I don't know. And then I think not only did it give me a wake up call, but then also gave me tools to conquer it. And I've been so consistent in making sure that that is not a voice in my head. And I think as I kind of go deeper, I'll give kind of like the tips that I've been utilizing. I've started to realize that the people around me actually don't perceive me that way. And this is how I really know, because it's not that they weren't saying it before. I didn't believe them before. Like when people were like, oh, Sia, you're smart, or you have such like good critical thinking skills, or they would like compliment my intellect. In the back of my head, I didn't hear the compliment at all. I guess that filter on my ears wasn't internalizing what they're saying. And I think now that I'm more aware that the voice in my head is a more negative voice when it comes to like how smart I am, or my qualifications, or things like that, I've become trying to be more in tune with what other people around me are saying, especially if it's positive, to let that be another fuel. And maybe that's not the best thing if you feel like the people around you are kind of a reason that you have it. But for me, it's my internal self-doubt. So I've realized that I have to listen to other voices outside of myself. And I can't just be like, sit on the fact that oh my gosh, why are they asking my opinion right now? Or not feeling confident to say something in a meeting and share my opinion. Yeah, so I left that conference ready to change and shake up. And so they gave some tools to help overcome imposter syndrome, but I have really made my own of how I make a conscious effort to work through imposter syndrome, because it's not something I want to sit with. I know that I don't want my own internal thoughts and my self-doubt to stop me from speaking up in meetings, to stop me from giving my opinion, to think that I'm not smart and intelligent, especially if I want to get my master's. I'm very intentional now that I'm going to do the work, so that way I don't let imposter syndrome chokehold my career. Like, I want to be, I don't know what I want to be yet. I kind of don't. So in the figuring it out, I can't let imposter syndrome hold me back at all. So my first thing is Deuteronomy 31:6, it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." And I think that's more for someone, maybe if you have like the external voice, that's the one that is driving. But I also think too, when it says do not be afraid or terrified because of them, I think that's another part too where because I see myself as less than or inferior or not having the qualifications in comparison to someone else, I become fearful or scared of what they might think if I were to speak up or share my opinion and small things like that. So I can't be afraid of them just because they have the degrees or just because they have more experience. I can't be afraid, and I can stand firmly on what I do know. So that's my kind of tip number one. My second tip is something that I used to hear growing up, and it just kind of rang back true more recently, but it's God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so I truly believe that every space that I'm in, I've been called to that space, whether no matter how long it is. God has ordained my steps to be where I am when I'm there in the meeting, in that space. And so I'm not there because I'm qualified, right? Like I already don't think I'm qualified, but what he will do is when you're called to that space, he will give you the qualifications. He will give you the knowledge beyond your years to be in those spaces that he's called you to. So that's my number two. My third one is more kind of an active do every single day. So daily affirming myself before I go to work or any space in which I feel imposter syndrome might come up. So the days when I'm going to have like a bigger meeting or when I need to share my opinion on different things, I've been very intentional in looking in the mirror after you brush my teeth, after I'm, all done up, and reading some affirmations to myself and reminding myself that I'm qualified, that I'm capable, that I'm smart, that I'm intelligent. Whatever that kind of voice in your head is telling you, actively say something against that when you're there. So another one, my last thing is kind of when you feel the thoughts creeping up. So before that, those are more things that are those reminders. But when you feel those thoughts creeping up, something I've been very intentional to do is one, to stop. Your brain will run rampant if you let it, and you have to command your thoughts to stop. So we're stopping those thoughts. Boom, dead. Stopping them in their tracks. Second, take a deep breath. Right now, let's take a deep breath. Let's do one more deep breath. See how better you feel? A little more clear brained. So we're going to stop in our tracks. We're going to stop those thoughts. We're then going to take deep breaths to do a cleansing breath to clear those thoughts out. Next, we're going to pinpoint it. Where's it coming from in this moment right now? Was it coming from, and what is it saying? Our next thing is going to be counter. I think that's a very important part. We have to continuously counter what it is our brain is telling us, especially when it's those negative thoughts and it's self-doubt. So whether that's scripture, whether that's an affirmation, whatever it is that is a counter to what your brain is telling you, you have to counter it out loud, verbally, when that thought comes up. And then lastly, once you then counter that, we are letting go of the negative thought. We're releasing that negative thought, and we're going to hold on to whatever that counter is. So whatever that scripture, whatever that affirmation is, we're going to hold on to that and release the negative. And then lastly is the meditation part. We're going to not only counter it, then release. Moving forward throughout the day, we're going to meditate on whatever that scripture or affirmation is or was that got us out of that moment. So if you're writing it down, our first one is to stop. We're going to breathe. We're going to pinpoint, counter, and then lastly, we're going to release. And those are the tips that I have been actively utilizing since July. It's September now, so it hasn't been that long. But I will say that I have seen a change in my confidence when it comes to how smart I am, or, where life can take me and my abilities and my career, because I've been so intentional in conquering it. It's not conquered yet, because I still have those thoughts that come up. And I mean, you're always going to have those probably thoughts that come up. And depending if you change your location or change your job or whatever it might be, those thoughts might still come up. But it's important to have that baseline of framework that works that will let go of those thoughts that are running rampant in your head. Or if it's people around you that are being that negative voice to you, maybe that means you need to leave that space, because the spaces around you, especially if you don't think that they're true, they need to be saying true things about you, that you're smart, that you're intelligent, that you're capable, that you are awesome, and that you belong there. So remember that. If the space is not positive and affirming you, baby, get up out of there. Get up out of there. And my last thing is just remember that you're not alone. I'm sharing my experience because sometimes when self-doubt comes up, you can feel so alone that you're the only one. And even if it manifests in people different ways, but everyone goes through it. Everyone kind of has those moments of self-doubt. And so we're not going to let that run rampant. But that's another reason too why you need to encourage other people around you. I think that's one thing that I've also been very intentional about since kind of working on my own imposter syndrome. When I see, and it's like maybe not imposter syndrome, but when I see people doubting themselves, I encourage them, right? Like, if you're part of that space that's around, be that positive, encouraging voice to help uplift and encourage the people that you're around. Don't let them sit or wallow in that kind of self-doubt. Let's encourage them. Remind them to stop, breathe, pinpoint, counter, release, and meditate. C's 2 cents for this week is each day this week, I want you to look in the mirror and affirm yourself on the same 3 things. Every single day, look in the mirror. Tell yourself that you are beautiful, that you are smart, that you're intelligent. Whatever those 3 things are, remind yourself. And when that self-doubt comes up, I want you to go back to that mirror. And I don't care if you're at work. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you got to pull up your phone, the front camera. When those self-doubts, those thoughts come up, stop, look in that mirror, affirm yourself. Utilize those kind of tips that I gave you earlier, and affirm yourself. You can take my advice or not, but that's just my 2 cents. Thank you so much for joining the Honesty Circle this week. If you like anything that you heard today, be sure to share with a friend, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at the Honesty Circle with the _ at the end to stay updated on Circle news. Thanks again for listening, and go conquer your week.